shit. Where is that? I hear that. That's my bad, y'all. I don't know where that's coming from. All right, hang on. Let me turn. All right, there we go. My bad. We had a little echo of the show open there. My apologies. We've had a serious technical difficulty day today. I apologize, people. My name is Chad. You see Nico. Our guest tonight is Adam Kokesh. Unfortunately, Marcus is not with us. The internet got knocked out in his neighborhood, and we tried to do everything we could to get him on through some sort of cellular device, and he was just not. The signal just wasn't working, and so like up until the very last second, we were trying to get him on. It didn't work, and as a result, I fucked up the open. But you guys probably used to that because I fuck it up all the time, in some way or another. But we are here. We are ready to chop it up with our good friend, Mr. Adam Kokesh, and we welcome you all here. We remind everybody to share this episode with everybody you can. 2 shares to speed the spread. We are still trying to speed the spread. It's been way past 2 weeks to slow the spread, but we are 2 shares to speed the spread until the cows come home. So anyway, Adam, welcome. Thank you for coming on. And we're sorry Marcus couldn't be here, but what's been going on, man?
Well, I appreciate a smooth enough takeoff from a substitute pilot today. I think we're okay. Chad. But you hear my voice. I'm a little congested. I got a cold, and it's a weird circumstance because we can almost blame someone for wearing a mask on several people in my family getting a cold right now, and you're just like, oh, it's starting to pile up, and you guys are too important to me, and of course Marcus, for me to just skip this, and this is too important of a moment in time. I feel like I've been around as a full-time activist, paying attention to the news as a news junkie, covering it, in one way or another as independent media. And I feel like I've got just enough perspective to really see what's happening. I don't want to say like, I'm the all-seeing, I know everything because I've been doing this for a decade and a half. Yeah. But I think there's a time for those of us who have been around for a while to really help show and share that perspective. In some ways, I mean, I know you guys are familiar with my long-term optimism perspective, but it's sometimes tough, to hold on to that, looking at recent events and the steps backwards that we've taken as a society. I still remain confident in long-term optimism, but we are in a very scary moment. And in some ways, it seems that government is stronger than it's ever been. I don't want to say more violent or more destructive, but perhaps historically, institutionally, maybe we are at a high watermark for government that I didn't see coming. I thought we were kind of coming down. I thought we were already leveling off like around 2015, and it still seems that way. But now there's this weird spike, right?
Isn't that symptomatic though of a wounded animal thrashing in the corner?
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at. Is that government, while in many ways it is legitimately stronger than ever, like in terms of the institution, the resources it's able to manipulate, right? What it's able to move for vaccines and dollars and bodies and things like that, widgets, when it comes down to that bottom line that they're looking at. But while it's stronger than ever that way, it's also, it's more intrusive than ever. And even then, I want to take that in historical context, right? Because I always like to go back in time and compare just what has been the progress of statism over human history. So government's more intrusive than ever. You can't communicate with another human being through the mainstream means of communicating through your phone or anything digital or around any microphone. I mean, this sounded paranoid. And this is one of my favorite memes now is, we're not going to call them conspiracy theories anymore. We're going to call them spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alerts. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. That was awesome. That shit's pretty funny.
So it's like when we as libertarians were being a little bit paranoid, up until this year even, where Amazon comes out and admits that they're listening through your devices even when you're not interacting with them. Like, and that employees are actually listening to recordings of you in your home when you weren't asking them to.
Right.
We knew that the devices were like, you put up a device and you expect it to respond to you saying, "Hey Siri," of course. Yeah, it's got to be at least paying attention all the time. You know, and now it's like, yeah, this is a new level of intrusiveness.
Yeah.
But we did sign up for it. We did sign up. We don't read the terms of agreements, and so therefore, since it's all long,
the human Sentai pad is ours for the.
Man,
we can't overlook something.
You'll overlook like plenty of things. You might even we've probably sold away our soul at least like 12 dozen times without looking over. Like it could go that deep for something so simple, and it just flies over your head because I don't have the time for it, or it's the rhetoric is too challenging because not everybody understands the rhetoric of business.
So I want to bring it back to that. But I want to make a couple bigger points about like this point in history. If we're at this point where government is stronger than ever, and it's more intrusive than ever, and in some ways it's more dangerous than ever. You know, I mean, you look back to like medieval times. If the king says, "I want to read all your notes and be more intrusive," you know, if the king says, "I don't like the way you look, I want you dead," you're dead, right? I mean, there was a certain brutality and absolute power in prior stages of humanity, but it's like there's this weird point now where it's almost coming back to that. And I mean, John McAfee murdered in a prison in Spain recently for tax evasion. And he wasn't murdered for tax evasion. He was murdered for being loud about tax evasion.
For
the potential of coming
people
home,
up,
right?
Yeah, for teaching other people the game. That's right. Yeah.
And to come home and to have that spotlight. You know, they knew that if they brought him back to the United States with those charges, that he was gonna take advantage of that spotlight, and he was going to put it on them and say, taxation is theft, prove me wrong. And they were going to have a hell of a time with that. John McAfee could have been, you know, the linchpin that we pull, and you know, the whole wicked system comes apart. And they knew that, so they killed him before he came back to the United States. But like you said, Chad, about it being flailing, in a sense, it's more desperate than ever. It's more fragile than ever. It's more delicate, and it seems like maybe this is the time we need to fight back more than ever, and I don't know what that is. You know, I raised this issue on my show earlier this week to say, like, I'm not selling anything. You know, I'm not asking you to sign up for shit. I'm not organizing any protests or rallies or anything like that. But what does that mean? Like, I want everybody who's listening to consider, like, what does that mean? Like, stop. I mean, I'm talking to myself now. Like, stop arguing on Twitter about masks.
And
vaccines. You know, stop and step back, because in a way, that's all a distraction. So, like to Nico's point about, you know, you signed up for it. I saw an article, you know, in the Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago, and I didn't cover it in my show because I wanted to get more in depth in it, and I actually read it completely the wrong way at first from the title. But in China, there's a movement called the Lie Flat movement.
The Lie what?
Lie Flat.
Lie Flat.
No.
Oh no.
No. And it's a sort of like I took it the wrong way first. I took it at, like I forget the title of the article, but it said something about, you know, Chinese growing movement of Chinese giving up you know, high pressure, high power, career bullshit lifestyle that the Communist Party channels people into. And their response was, I'm just gonna lie flat. You know, I'm just gonna opt, and it's and I was like, oh wow, it's not a low expectation lifestyle, it's a higher expectation lifestyle. Right? Because I often, you know, I am very judgmental of people who just lack motivation, who don't have any drive or vision for their lives. Like, what a fucking waste of an opportunity. You were born on this earth as a human being with a brain. Fucking A, what a gift from the universe. However you want to describe that, from God. Like, and you're going to fucking sit around and watch TV all day? Get the fuck out. True. Like, really? I don't respect you.
Yeah, my pinned tweet is, time ill spent is lost forever.
So that's what I took this article as, but that's not what it was. It was a conscientious opting out. It was a conscientious, I don't want to work for the Communist Party anymore. I can lie flat. I can have more time with my family. I can have more time reading books. I can have more time being artistic. I can't under a communist country. I have to accept that unless I suck party D, I am going to be I'm going to be poor. I'm not going to be respected by the system. But rather than being a drone in the system, I can at least have a rich life outside of it. And to Nico's point, I often wonder when I say we have to fight more than ever. It's kind of corny. It's kind of cliche. It doesn't feel right, does it?
Yeah. No, but
something feels wrong. You're like, because our message is love.
Yeah.
Like our message is love for humanity. You apply that even to the oppressors, even the people who run government. You say, well, we don't want to fight. We want to fight this phenomenon. We want to fight this injustice. We want to stop this program. We want to fight the specific evils of the system. But that's not how we want to move. We don't want to win a fight and then be victorious and stand over the corpses of our enemies. Like that's not it.
That's the wrong message.
Our message as libertarians is love. It's connection with our fellow human beings with a higher standard of respect, of ethics, of respect for individual rights, of self-ownership, of the non-aggression principle, of voluntarism. And so this is what I'm turning around in my head. I want to interview you guys now and be like, okay, so help me figure out the rest of this.
Well, so it's you have no idea how fucking crazy it is that's the approach that you took to this interview. Because I hate that Marcus isn't here, because like we would probably be like just like giddy giggling or whatever, because we had a conversation earlier this afternoon just on the phone, and we were talking about how, because like I came to your content probably 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And it was the activism stuff, and it was like around the Ron Paul stuff. And so there was a lot of that where it seemed like there was a fight afoot that we were engaged in already. That was like, and it gave me sort of a direction with like stuff that wasn't sitting well with me. But then like as some of the other
confrontational nature gives you an easy cop out.
Right. So, but what's happened since then, and I started to look at it like, why isn't the book Freedom? And I'm wearing the shirt too, by the way. Why isn't the book Freedom like catching on like wildfire? And why didn't we get like a bigger response from the book bomb in New Orleans and things like that? And then why didn't we get more traction within the LP with the presidential campaign last year? These sorts of things. And I started to think about it. And then, Marcus and I were talking about it, about how it's like there's the tactics and the rules of engagement, I guess, so to speak, have changed to where I actually think that very much to what you just said, it's like we're all kind of, these light bulbs are going on in our heads all at the same time. And that's why, like, see, I'm also wearing this Hotep Nation hat, because about a year and a half ago or so, well, no, actually it was like almost 3 years ago, when I started following Hotep Jesus and Uncle Hotep and them, and then I started doing stuff with their show. Like there's been an effort that I have been underway with, and that Marcus has kind of joined in on, and then Nico joined us, and we're trying to do this thing where what we're doing is we are looking for connections with as many people as we can find who are willing to jump on that train that Murray Rothbard talked about, that's headed towards complete freedom. And if they just want to get off at the constitutional stop, or they want to get off at the minarchist stop, we're not gonna fight about that because I just want us to all be going in the same direction.
The train analogy is a terrible analogy because decentralization just renders up. You understand why?
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand.
That's an old cliche talking point of the party. They're like, let's all work together and pull in the same direction. And it's like, Yeah, but even then, to what end? And the people often saying that are going, so follow my centralized plan to freedom and get on board with my project.
Right,
I'm really glad I get to ask this question kind of honestly, because I'm not pushing anything. I'm really not. I don't have any major. I have a lot of major projects. I mean, if I'm pushing anything, it's not related to this. It's Homefront Battle Buddies. You know,
yeah.
Let's
we gotta talk about that too. That's
let's get Ben stoned in the woods so that we can be the last generation of combat veterans the world ever knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, but it's y'all are Game of Thrones fans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, I made the meme of you torching the you being the dragon that torches the throne and melts it to
yeah. That's a great meme frame to start with. But yeah, I'm thinking. So I made a meme recently. I'm gonna bring this back to Game of Thrones. It's like a dude with his hand here and his hand out like this, and he's got it on a small woman's forehead, right? And he's laughing at her, and she's swinging. Right, like she's trying to punch him, but she can't reach him because he's got the hand on the forehead. You know, like the bully, or holding some little scrawny kid, a smaller kid away. You know, like swing and throw punches in the air. And in the meme, I said, like, this guy is the government, right? And the woman in the meme is the freedom movement. And we're and the arms swinging. Maybe it's the Libertarian Party. You know, we keep swinging, we keep trying to reach, and we can't reach because they're holding us back with, ballot access and voter suppression and all the other shit. But what is it really that's holding back the movement? What is this arm that's keeping us from connecting? And I think it's a lot more along the lines of sabotage and misinformation, especially with what I'm seeing right now. I mean, the whole COVID vaccine push has made some of that, the censorship a lot. Like, I've been censored, like, pretty much continuously. Different. I mean, YouTube, it's on and off. I'm like, I keep getting strikes and waiting and strikes and waiting. And, I've been on YouTube for years, and I keep and it's now I'm getting kicked off. Now I'm getting strikes for medical misinformation.
Yeah, the medical tyranny it's weird. I saw like a article saying that supposedly by Thursday, Biden saying that he wants majority of like the working class to have some kind of proof or verification of it. And I'm like, so as a collective conscious group of people, we've decided, yes, let's push an experiment amongst the people. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not know where this leads to. Like, we going to a gulag.
That's a whole other scary question. Like, I am now banned from flying on 2 airlines for asserting my right to have a medical exemption to mask policy, and being bullied about it. And the last time, it was more because I said something that a flight attendant didn't like that got me reported. And that's really petty shit. But that's new. And it's disturbing. It's kind of weird. You say, like, where is this going? I've gotten to say I told you so a lot over the last year and a half, but I don't know. Is this the new normal? Is this going to get worse? When is this going to get better? But the vaccination rates are only about 50% in the United States. I don't feel like it's running away. I feel like this surge is lasting longer. But it provides an opportunity as well. And I think about that scene from Game of Thrones where the Night King, spoiler alert, where Arya kills the Night King. Yeah, there's a big spoiler alert, right? Or big spoiler, but she jumps.
That's a conspiracy theory, Adam. That's not a spoiler alert.
Okay. Thank you. Conspiracy theory about how Game of Thrones is going to end.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So she leaps at him with the knife in her hand, right? And he catches it. And she's stuck there in midair. And as she's there dangling in midair over his head, she drops the knife. And it's the most cinematic, dramatic moment. The knife falls through the air 3 feet to her other hand to catch it right in front of his belly. And she drives it in.
Yeah.
That's my fantasy for the movement right now, because it's this guy holding us off, and it's a little more complicated than just drop the knife, stab him in the belly. Obviously, this is a strategic analogy that might help us figure out what the tactics are. But if we acknowledge that we have a hand on our forehead that's keeping us from being effective, and I think this is COINTELPRO. I think this is infiltrators. I think this is sabotage. I think this is Democrat and Republican operatives sneaking into the LP and causing all sorts of fuckery. And it's not necessarily that complicated, but if that's what it is, how do we get around it? I want to say the book bomb, Chad, you mentioned, and we had no way of confirming that the books got to every mailbox. I've come to suspect that a decent number of them were diverted one way or another, let's say, because it didn't seem like it could have been only a quarter of them went out. So the other thing is that the misinformation campaign is to stop us from seeing this hand on our forehead. It's to make us think, oh, the American people don't really like freedom. They're just not ready for this message. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of the impression that we get, and I think a lot of libertarians are bullied into being unnecessarily self-conscious about our true beliefs. That alone is enough to keep us from ever swinging enough to connect.
Well, do you think also that it's that some of this is like a generations ago and just continuing on like an indoctrination of that you have some people who, I was one of them. I didn't wake up to a lot of this stuff until, like I said, 10, 12 years ago. And it took some time to completely knock the cobwebs off and everything, because you get so much of, like, from the educational system. Even if you went to private school, it's stand in line, wait your turn, don't talk out of turn, don't collaborate on projects together unless we tell you to, and we force you to be with certain people to collaborate, all this sort of stuff. And then that person up there is the authority. Don't question them. If you do, we'll send you to another different level of authority, and they'll deal with you, and it just keeps going. And then we'll tell your parents, and your parents are going to back. It's a very. I don't think it's completely fair of us to really blame the people who have been indoctrinated that they haven't woken up from the stupor yet. I think what we have to do, and that's, I guess, back to my point, that's where I was kind of going with this, is that I see this as, I appreciate the Game of Thrones analogy, but I see this as more of like a Lord of the Rings, where like it's a fellowship of the ring, and you have there's this group over here that's doing their thing, and they're coming at it from this side, and then somebody else is coming over. And so I've equated it to like a boss fight in one of these like online role-playing games where you team up and co-op with people. So you have your archer, your knight with a big sword, you have your barbarian with a mace, you have a little agile like assassin type thief or whatever, you have a sorcerer, you have all these different types of ways to attack the boss. And rather than, and so that was the point I was making about rather than try to find and nitpick the little differences that I have with some of the people who in Hotep Nation, for instance, are more like Republican leaning or anything like that, but they recognize the freedom movement. They just want to maybe focus on local politics and fixing their local city council, because they want to push back on some of the stuff that's the federal overreach, and they don't want to just attack it from Washington DC and start there. Rather than nitpick all that stuff, I want to focus on the things that we agree on, and then when there are those teachable moments, have like some real good conversations about how what we think is the ideal is a better way, to focus on as the ultimate goal. And then that way we all kind of build together. And the other part of it is building, like what you're doing with Gardenia and what so many other people are doing, is trying to build something that, as much as is possible, can make us impervious to this stuff. Make it to where we have some sort of refuge of sorts that we can go to, but without doing it in a way that is escapism. Because if we all end up in the same corner, they're just going to come bomb that corner. So
well, they can send bombs all over. Oh, hold on. I want you to consider a counterpoint to that, Chad. I made a meme based on this too, as a follow-up to someone commenting on my hand on the forehead meme. Maybe, and I don't really believe that this is necessarily the case, but it's a possibility that we have to consider. Maybe the hand on the forehead is just all they have to do to neuter us as a movement to keep us ineffective is to trick us into focusing on local issues and never uniting to have a libertarian moment nationally or globally. Maybe we need to pull together. Maybe there needs to be a moment of awareness. Maybe convincing us to pursue other strategies like local, political stuff with the LP. Maybe, and I'm all for county organizing. I think that feeds both strategies. I think organizing the LP at the county level, building organization, I think that's valuable in both strategic considerations. But maybe the powers that be want us to do nothing but run for city council, never run for federal office, and never talk about those big issues and never reach people in that conversation. And then they can sabotage and limit the effectiveness when we are divided. Because divide and conquer. It's easier to make us ineffective and not have us coordinate and see everything that's going on if everybody's focusing on local races and there was no LP, state or national or even movement, greater consciousness. And obviously that applies very obviously in the political analysis, running for city council versus running for president or Senate or Congress. But it also applies to, like a book bomb versus building local community. Maybe we should, or a flyer bomb, or a billboard campaign, or something like that, or that creates a national moment and a turning point in awareness.
Yeah, well, so I guess my point was more that like if there are people who are focusing on the local stuff, I'm going to be cool with them, and we're going to do, I'm going to do my thing, and they're going to do their thing, and like we kind of. I think it's rather than trying to back to that thing about like centralized planning, rather than trying to get us all on doing the same plan, just say like, all right, you do your thing. And then when I need help, I'm going to, if you can support me when I need help doing my thing, I'll support you and you're doing your thing. And then we're all kind of working together on our things and we're bolstering each other instead of fighting each other over which one's the right approach. Cause that's where I think we've gotten our dicks in a knot is we've focused too much on arguing within amongst ourselves over who has the best approach. Huh?
I think you're wrong. You're wrong. You're an idiot. Yeah.
See there. Yeah. That's
Well, you also have to take
and also not just you're wrong. You're an idiot. You're wrong. You're an idiot, and you must be like you must be a Fed or something. Yeah. Exactly.
You gotta take in consideration that. Everybody's got a big ego. It don't matter who the fuck it is. Sorry, I'm chopping at throats now. So like women don't take accountability, men aren't men no more. And like we just don't have a proper situational ecosystem where, it's one take and then one that doesn't give too much. Instead, we're all like, okay, we're in a line, you gotta conform, tuck your shirt in. And it's like if your shirt is out a little bit, or you're that cool kid with that one flap out, we all get to stone you to death. And then once you're stoned to death and you're irrelevant and you go cripple, you have to stay in the shadows of school, because if you don't, your ass is going to get stomped again. So do you want that to happen, or do you just, remain canceled and then in your own little zone? Everybody needs to understand that it's not about them. Once you can get the focus off about like, oh, well, my cough is going to kill you. Once we get off of that ideology where it's like it's the next person, because once you create that thought process of, oh, I can't trust another individual, that's where it all starts in the first place, of lack of really trusting anybody or anything.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in that, man, that's relevant. I don't know what the word is, the dilution of gender roles, the Oh, hey, Marcus.
What the fuck is this?
Let me get the A here.
This is my
Oh yeah, let me. Yeah.
Sorry, continue. I finally
If you
got
can
in
slide
and got
over
my
a little
internet
bit,
back up.
maybe I can put Marcus down there. Let me put Marcus down there, and
No,
then you can
okay.
stay. No, it's fine. Yeah, we're good. Marcus likes being over there anyway. He likes to hide off to the side. So, welcome, Marcus. What the hell?
Sorry about that. The internet gods in my fucking town decided that I didn't need to be on shit today. I missed 8 hours of work today because I work from home. And then on top of that, and they're not going to do anything about it. And then because of that, everybody in my little town is on their cell phones. So I don't have any reception.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry to interrupt.
You're here now.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this too. I'm glad you're here to remind me. It's almost like Babylon is crumbling.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, like serious. Like this is another thing that we have to stop and appreciate. I mean, in order to have even this strategic conversation, to understand where the average American is, like there is a really deep set frustration now with COVID bullshit. But what they don't realize is it's not just the COVID bullshit. It's something much deeper than that. It's the runaway socialism effects compounded by the immediate policies around COVID, the forced, unemployment crisis, all that. Hey, Morpheus is with us.
Titania is here. Yes, that's right.
Can y'all hear me?
Samsara is the endless cycle of birth, suffering, death, and rebirth. The first noble truth is life is suffering. We lost
internet problems.
Speaking of suffering, Marcus is
I've always there's suffering. No, I always appreciate that's our friend Morpheus Titania, Thomas Costanzo, who is a great Bitcoin and civil disobedience activist who did time for standing up for his rights with Bitcoin and localbitcoins.com, and did a few years with the feds. Yeah, so he's that perspective, like that life is suffering. I mean, there's a certain acceptance and bliss that comes with that. Mm-hmm. But there's, to Nico's point about, Nico, what would you say has happened to gender roles in America over the last 50 years? Like, is that the period we're looking at? Something like that?
I don't remember when the organization really started, but people don't do their history and they don't research their history. And when you bring up history to people, some people are like, no, that's not my history. I don't accept it. Well, it's like, sorry, love. Facts are facts, and 1 + 1 = a duck. So, like, you have to really follow suit with understanding that, like, it doesn't matter what you feel, it's what is there. So, whenever the roles started getting iffy, and this actually spans way back to, like, the Romans, and actually, what is the book? From the GOAT, the God himself, Chad. It was the Renegade.
Which one? Oh, Renegade History from Thaddeus
Renegade
Russell?
History. It says pirates used to do butt stuff. Like, so, like, pause. So it's like,
wait, are you guys fans of Black Sails?
I haven't watched it. I know it exists, but I've never, and I know people like meme it sometimes and everything, but I've never watched.
Black Sails is an historical drama of the real Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's amazing. It's 4 seasons. I totally recommend it. Ernie Hancock, FreedomPhoenix.com turned me on to that.
I have to be that guy. Are they black?
There were black pirates, yeah.
All right.
No, it was really raw, and it's not like they're trying to whitewash history, create some like pirate fantasy. They weave a narrative into the history, and it touches on real historical characters. So yeah, you see the pirate crews; they're black. There are escaped slave colonies, and the racial issue of the time is in the slave trade is like well treated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Well, anyway, where were you go? So where were you? You were going to say Adam had asked you about the gender roles and stuff,
So the gender roles have kind of flipped on its head, and if you don't pay attention to your diet or anything like that, I'm not even going to go there. The point is that it really is society that said all right, fuck nature. We're going to do what we please. We're in an emotional age at this moment in time. So whatever somebody's going to feel, however they feel, because when you have a conversation with somebody, and it don't matter if you have a great memory or you don't, it's about how that person made you feel at the end of the day. When you have feelings and your emotion takes suit, then therefore logic goes out the window and this, that, and the third. So when logic goes out the window, there goes your ecosystem, which is the fact. So once that goes out the window, you are stuck with a dystopia of somebody saying my ego is much bigger than what is nature. I am much bigger than nature. So I can do what I please. At the end of the day, it's become a lot bigger problem than it needs to be, but that's only to me because I don't have to deal with those kind of parameters, but it's become much more of a highlighted topic than necessary need be. Like you already said, we're flailing our hands at the government, and there's a lot more shit that needs to be paid attention to than somebody and the little fuckery that they do in their bedroom. Like that concerns with nobody. No business, no, nothing outside of the home. That's your bedroom. That's your personal stuff that don't need to come out anywhere. And so it's messed up because not only is it the gender roles, then you have society hyperly sexualizing children and messing up their thought processes. So when you have kids addicted to porn all the time, therefore they don't sit down and collect all that spiritual positive energy that they can put in towards something else. So they're always groggy and sitting their ass on a video game and don't do shit. Now, there's nothing wrong with video games if you like make bread off of it. But the point being is that you're wasting away your life force, you're wasting away your time, all due to the fact that they're playing off your emotions and your hormones. And that goes back to the problem in the first place, which is balancing between male and female, or now we have another spectrum that you can't forget, because if you do, you're planning to shoot off some toes, so you wouldn't want to do that. So it's a clusterfuck.
Well, see, this what I'm familiar with this phenomena. You know, I've been red pilled by the MRA, you know, men's rights advocacy movement. You know, I've heard that whole case, and I think the way that is that a table saw in the babackground?
It sounds like yes, it does. It sounds like somebody's.
Hold on.
All right.
Because Dad's building a house in
the house in a shed, and I would have thought that like my mic was quiet enough, but I'm gonna close that window.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right. But there's so like I want to make my position on transgenderism clear first as a little PC bullshit caveat to say that I recognize fundamentally what makes you a man or a woman is more about your brain than your body.
Facts.
And you have the right to identify and to express yourself however you see fit. And for people who are born with the mismatch there, my sympathies. Mm-hmm. But there's a bigger trend, right? Which is let's keep kids hypersexualized. Let's keep kids confused. And let's not teach boys how to be men. And I think that's an important part of it. And I don't want to, you know, we could split the gender roles and play like, you know, men versus women on this. And, you know, I'm a feminist in the truest sense of the word. I believe in equality between the genders. You're an independent human consciousness. You are entitled to the equal self-ownership rights that I am, right? But what's happening is
equally valuable. We're equally, we're human beings.
Right. That's it. It's not valuable. A value judgment. Right. Thank you, Chad. It's not a value judgment overall. That's a great way of putting it. But there is a specific, and could you say like, well, it's women being denied or being encouraged, to seek reliance on government through the welfare state rather than on a husband and have that experience of a complete family. But I'm not trying to preach like any kind of religious dogma here, obviously, but there's something in the way that specifically boys are not taught to be men anymore.
Nope, that was lost a long time ago.
Yeah, that is really robbing modern society of the critical role of the warrior class. The rest of us who go, well, I guess I'll be a man. I'll go kill for government. I'll join the Marine Corps. No, you're giving up being a warrior, and that spirit is being perverted to being a soldier.
To be obedient, yeah.
A warrior is someone who does the right thing, who stands up and is willing to take risks to help others and put their life on the line to protect people who can't protect themselves. That's a noble concept. A soldier is a cuck who is paid to kill for government. There's a very, very big difference there.
Who's not allowed to question even like unjust authority. Like it's like these are the orders. That's it.
I want to bring it back to what Morpheus said and the bigger strategic question here. Watch this. Yeah. When he said life is suffering, right? That's the first. I don't know if you can put that comment back up because I can. I'll put it back up. Get his wording right. You'll see. Trust me. I'm gonna bring all this back to Game of Thrones. Samsara is the endless cycle of birth, suffering, death, and rebirth. The first noble truth is life is suffering. And I don't know how I feel about that language and that wording, but the acknowledgement of the nature of life. That there is a challenge to it. This is that is what the Buddha taught. Yes. So I mean, I acknowledge. Okay, he's going to keep going.
Yeah, well, you don't have to keep leaning for. I can read them for you if you want.
No, this is great though. I'm talking to my friend Morpheus while we're doing this interview now. So
I think that's kind of what helped you too, right? And I mean, you wrote Freedom. Started at least behind bars. Yeah. And there's a really good book. I mean, if you're not Catholic, you can still get a lot out of it, but it's written by a Catholic priest. I think it's Jacques Philippe. It's called Interior Freedom. And it basically is all about how, and you talked about this way back when. I have
2 pages in my book in a section called Emotional Freedom. All right.
Yes. And I was going to say, you said and you did that interview back a couple of years ago, I think, with Chance Lunsford. And you guys talked about like emotional autonomy and like being able to like, and that's one of the things that I struggle with, and Marcus and I were talking about that today too. Like I really want to practice, nonviolent communication. I really want to be as good of an upholder of the nap as possible. But the reality is, you go through shit all day at work and with everything else, and then you come home, and the easiest targets for being frustrated, having a short temper, or anything like that are the people who aren't going anywhere. Because they love you, and you know what I mean. It's really hard. It's a struggle for me. Yeah, they're stuck. They're stuck with me. They're stuck with me. Yeah.
I want to bring. I don't want to get too sidetracked on that. I want to bring.
No, right. But go ahead. Yeah.
Suffering, and this acknowledgement of reality, and it seems like we have the powers that be, the unique nature of the modern government racket, the authority racket, the way we are spellbound through psychological control seems to be very founded around taking advantage of our desires to deny reality, a sense of privilege. And I want to admit to what I think of a sense of privilege, of generational privilege. Yes, we should be allowed to live the most actualized, high-tech driven, comfortable, medically secure, financially organized lives in human history because we were born now and our parents worked ahead of us to get us to this point. And God damn it, we should not let government beat us back into a primitive state that we are entitled to a better life right now. But what we are not entitled to do is to deny reality, to deny that, hey, you're whatever your biological nature is as a man or a woman, or that like, hey, if you don't eat, you starve. If you don't there's this weird leftist complaint, and there's all sorts of equivalencies on the right too, but there's this weird leftist complaint like, wait, are you saying I have to work to live? Well, like in a minimal sense, you at least have to like put the spoon in the bowl and put the food in your mouth. You have to work to live. It's effort to live. And I see this is what I think of it as the suffering thing, and where to why I object, or I don't say object. I don't know. I can't object to the Buddha's language, but I think there's a better language that works in understanding this for me. That life is effort.
Yeah.
And if you're conditioned to think of work as suffering, You have been robbed of your very own life force. And that's what we're conditioned to do with cemetery row seating and government schools, indoctrination centers that you do how to think, or sorry, what to think instead of how to think, obviously, right?
Right, exactly.
And then we are taught to be lazy. We are taught to give up that effort that is the core driver that makes life worth living. And so to bring it back to the Game of Thrones thing, if this is where we are, and this maybe we've got the wrong knife. You know, maybe the arm's not long enough because we're swinging for the wrong thing. Maybe we got to back up all the way and get that hand off us, or swat it away somehow and come back at a whole new angle in attacking the state. And it's not attacking, but maybe that strategic analysis gives us the way of looking at these other deeper principles that we think of as associated with freedom. And this is, again, why I love you guys, Aquarian Anarchy and Marcus, that you've always indulged me and joined me in seeing this other side of what's relevant to libertarianism. Whereas a lot of libertarians have their own things they want to deny about reality. Oh, we're not swinging at the air. We're gaining ground inch by inch. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, the state laughs in a lot of ways. It's
what Nico said about the egos.
Yeah.
All the egos in the movement. I've had mine, and I've had mine be, an impediment. I think the ego is a healthy thing when done right. It's a positive sense of self.
Right.
But in the way that, in activism, everybody wants a piece of the spotlight, egos can become very destructive. And so it makes me wonder, like, maybe it's not, we have to drop the knife. Maybe we don't have the right knife to begin with. Maybe we're going about this all wrong. Maybe there's an opportunity for a national libertarian moment only if we address this deeper issue of the life force being conned out of us by a system that is trying to beat down our individuality, beat down our individual will, beat down the human desire to live and thrive and succeed, and keep us, like sheep and cattle. I don't know what that is. Again, this is why I feel really good having this conversation.
Well,
I'm not pushing anything.
You kind of balked at the term suffering, but I'll grant this, because I think this might be a better word. It starts with S too, so it fits. Struggle. Like to struggle, to strive, to like grapple with a task or a problem. Like it doesn't mean that it has to be necessarily negative. Like struggle is just contending with what is, and then getting to where you're going through that. So I think to not have, for life to not be a struggle, it's back to that thing. Like, what are you? You just have to do you even have to open your mouth, or we just have to feed you with a feeding tube and an IV or something like that for you to survive? I mean, we don't want to be the fucking pod. Yeah, exactly. Right. We don't want to be the Matrix pods. We want to actually live, and living is striving and thriving. It's not just, and back to your thing, I think the act of actively lying down to say no, because sometimes a child will do that too. A child will throw themselves on the floor because it's at that point, in a lot of ways, it's the only thing that they have.
Yeah.
Not letting themselves be picked up, or not letting their parents put something in their mouth because they don't want to eat. It's like that's actually one of those assertions of autonomy in a young child, is closing their mouth and turning their head away. I don't want to eat it. You can't make me eat it. And so in that sense, welcome back, Marcus.
Hi. Hopefully I stayed this time.
That was interesting.
You don't understand the half of it. I have tried a phone, a tablet, three laptops, and a computer.
So, well, Marcus, this is what you get for living in a third world country.
I know, like lapel.
United Soviet States of America. I mean, okay, so I want to get back to this core issue. Like, could it be that swatting the arm away and taking a different approach, or dropping the knife and stabbing the Ice King in the belly? Gosh, we've had a lot of corny ass pop culture references for not even being an hour into the show. This gives me hope, though. Like, the stuff that we talk about, that we reference, it's like, it's right there. Y'all know the stories. It speaks to the human spirit in a universal way. So they're like, everybody, Who doesn't like Game of fucking Thrones? You know, like everything, like you have to be some kind of weirdo to not connect with that because it's so powerfully human. You know, all the movies that we see where libertarians go, yeah, it's like we're screaming at society. Yeah, did you get the point? Did you see the point? Because I got the point. Did you get the message? Do you apply it? So, is there a way to you know, like, and in China, it's the lie flat movement, and I don't think that. I mean, maybe step aside. You know, like, hey, I'm gonna go squat and live off a food bank and live in an RV or buy a piece of land, or I'm just you know what, I'd rather and Marcus, I hate to make this personal with you for a second if you don't mind, but Marcus has a house in a city with zoning and a wife and a kid and people who depend on him. And it's a very scary thing for him to say. I mean, you are kind of locked into having an income, right? Sure. Like you are, oh fuck, I need a job. Like I have to have an income. Like you've taken on this responsibility that's kind of a bullshit social construct.
Sure.
Right? Because it's not, hey, you should have generational wealth and you should have a strong family and you should have a homestead and you should have a community. It's you should have a job. If you don't have a job, you're not supporting your family. Right.
Right. And I dealt with this. Somebody on Twitter, I think it was last week, was talking about this. And I was like, my goal isn't to have a job. These people because they were attacking somebody because they were like, basically, these people just don't want to go out and get jobs. And I was like, I don't want a fucking job. I want enough security and wealth that I don't need to go to some other person's job. I want a job that I enjoy, that I need, that I want. Yeah. And so I've put things into motion to make that happen. But to your point, yes, it is difficult for people in our society to absolutely get to some kind of comfort for their kids. And like Conkin said, all of this shit is inbred into us for 10,000 years that this is the shit we got to do because the state has made that essential. But the goal is not to work for the man or work for some other person. The goal is to work for yourself and bring capital or bring resources to yourself.
Right. See, I see that look on Chad's face. He's going, "Oh, thank God he didn't make it personal about me." Right?
I mean, it's fine. I was going to make it personal about myself after this. So
okay, but I want to get to the point with this. This idea of being dependent on an income and the concept of maybe lying flat or an American equivalent, like stepping aside. Because in a way, it's already happening. There are two big ways I see this happening. One, the homesteading movement. Other people want to do what I'm doing, buy land, go off grid, live in an RV, build an earthship, whatever it is. But it's sort of stepping back. It's like I'm willing to accept a lower quality of life. Like I still don't have indoor plumbing at my place except on the bus. Like I don't really care though. I'm free. I get up with the sun every day. I get to play with my fur babies and play in the dirt and enjoy nature and be, own a piece of this earth, and that's my home. So that's one thing. But the other one is people live in mobile, the digital nomad movement. You call it digital nomads or people retiring into motorhomes. A lot of it is, I can see for a lot of elderly couples who maybe have a little savings, they can sell a house, buy an awesome 40-foot motorhome, and with double Social Security benefits, they can at least live comfortably on the road and have the freedom to go at least anywhere in the United States they want. And for a lot of them, that's visiting grandkids, visiting family. And then, related to that, there's a lot of people who said, you know what, I'm going to be a digital nomad. Like I was living on the road for, a year and a half with the Freedom Trailer before buying the land in Arizona and moving on to it with the trailer. And there are a lot of people who are just like, yeah, I'm going to be comfortable like that. Like that's a better life. It's a more conscientious life, and it's still kind of sidestepping at least a large part of the 9 to 5. And I think in that second group of people going to be nomads at some point, a lot of it's just people who are like, fuck it. It's not even that conscientious. It's just like, well, I'm going to be homeless, but I'm going to have an RV so I can go to Slab City and live there. That sounds pretty cool. But then I don't have to have one of those job type jobs. Fuck that. I don't have to work for the man anymore. And that there's that little segment that's like, that's kind of like lying flat. There's people are like, you know what? You could live off your stimulus checks and some welfare, and you could have a bus or a little RV, or even live out of your car. I mean, living out of I hate this. This sounds like low expectations, but would you rather be working a 9 to 5
or living in a car,
literally killing you? Like maybe you're doing some industrial shit. Maybe it's some stress shit. Maybe you're sedentary and it's sitting at a desk 9 to 5. That's fucking killing you. Would you rather do that or live in your car and be happy and go surfing every day?
For sure.
You know, like it's just that's the kind of lie flat concept as you would see it happening in the United States. From what I understood of this one article that I read in the Wall Street Journal about people in China, you know, because the mainstream media in the United States never misrepresents foreign countries. So I'm sure it's totally accurate. But taking this kernel of the idea, you know, and considering, is that the way forward? Is that dropping the knife? Is we're trying to stab him in the head by going for politics? And you know, I this is kind of getting back to like one of the age-old libertarian movement questions. Is it you know, activism or political activism? And Chad, to what you said earlier, it's both, right? It's everybody, all the skill sets, everybody coming together.
Yeah.
But maybe that's missing a component of one or the other, because that's what we're doing, and it still feels like swinging at the air.
Yeah.
How do we change that?
Well, and that's why I think it's important. That's why what Marcus and Nico and I have been focusing on over this last year and a half or so that we've been doing this together is building these alliances and trying to connect with people, trying to connect these ideas with an audience. I mean, I realize we don't have the biggest audience in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but to the extent that we do, I think that this is part of the solution. This is one of the important roles that we can play, and that is by having more people hear this stuff, see this stuff, and hear it from all these different people from these different perspectives, that we all kind of have a similar ideal in mind, and how we get there might be viewed differently, but understanding that we're not going to attack each other over that stuff, and instead we're going to focus on the things that we can help each other with, so that, you know, maybe the person who has the knife that we need is the person that we've been, you know, shit posting with on Twitter because we disagree with them on this little bitty thing, and maybe we need to not be doing that, and we need to be continuing to be focusing on the things that we do agree on, that the beast needs to be slain, and that we need to work together, and we need more of us and not fewer of us, and getting the message out. The other thing is too, like, waking more people up. There's so many people who we have people who, like, they know who you are now because they came through us. And then we have other people who know who some other people we do stuff with because they came to us through you. And bringing those people together, that's a win to me, because those people didn't know each other existed before.
Right.
And they didn't know that you existed, or they didn't know who Sonny Johnson was, or who Hotep Jesus was, or whoever the person may be. And now they're all getting to sort of cross-pollinate in that sense. So anyway, Marcus, you were going to say something.
Yeah, actually, they both tie together. One of the things that I think that does is it does make us stronger. You know, to Adam's point, Amber and I have talked about once Anya is at a point where we feel like she can deal with not having like a household, having a house and going to school and doing those things, and we feel comfortable being able to like homeschool her and do all that kind of stuff. Once we feel comfortable with all of that, that is certainly one of the things we've talked about at length, and we're moving in that direction. And how we're moving in that direction came from talking to one of our guests, Yancey. You know, my goal is I'd like to have something similar to what Adam has. I prefer my climate to Adam's, but you know, that's a personal preference thing. And but for me, I'd like to kind of have a home base, but be able to go out of that home base with some kind of mobile home or something like that I can do to travel and move around. But those ideas of how to get there Yancey laid down. I mean, I wish I had notes, though, because I wouldn't have to refer back to it so much. But the whole concept of Hotep and building your own communities, absolutely has been a function of that influencing me. Because when we are bringing people together, whether that's somebody who is a left anarchist, if you will, or a mutualist or somebody like that, or it's somebody that they consider on the right, or a Hotep or somebody like that, or even somebody on the left, if we bring those people together and we learn, because believe it or not, we don't know everything. If we learn from them, we need to be open to those ideas, not only giving them our ideas, but also being willing to say, okay, sometimes it's going to be, I get what you're saying there, and I agree with this, and this, but I need to alter that to fit my worldview, because I'm not going to force people or whatever it is.
Right.
But to me, not only do we help people by bringing them together ourselves, but we help them by embodying that. I can't name how many people have been influenced by Adam. I can't. And the one word is localization. I've watched it explode in the last few years. Sonny Johnson talks about it. Most of the Hoteps talk about it. It's all over the place. And Adam started that. And we helped fuel that. Well, you really put it.
I started it for us. You started it for us. For sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Modern boost.
Can't give me credit for the idea of localization. Just
right.
You could if you called it the Kokesh localization political doctrine. Yes, that's mine. But not localization as a whole. I can't know. That wasn't my idea.
Right. But my point is that influence that you have on us expanded to other people, and I see it all the time. I really like the conscious conservative people that are surrounding Sonny Johnson and surrounding Felicia killings. I think that those people are ready. They are quickly becoming libertarians. Recently,
we even get them in the Aquarian Anarchy indoctrination chamber, and they come out of there like damn near, if not completely anarchist. So it's.
Right. Okay, so Marcus, I want to bring this back to the central challenge that I've tried to raise for this conversation tonight, right? That if the freedom movement is the woman who's got the bully's forehead or palm on the forehead, and we're swinging and missing, how do we actually strategically address that? Because everything you're saying is good, but it doesn't answer the question for me. It's still sort of like, yeah, that's inch by inch, that's good. But if in this analogy, like, the guy holding us back is the federal government or the powers that be, whatever you want to use, in the analogy for the meme, they can keep chipping away at us faster than we can grow. And one of the things I want to point out, quick sidebar on this, when I mentioned the illusion that even for us is created by those people who would manipulate social media, the mainstream media, and even alternative. You think independent media isn't infiltrated and heavily polluted with deliberate obfuscation bullshit? Of course it is. But so the whole illusion online of the world that's created for us, has us thinking, that maybe it's that we can grow that way. We can grow. We can fight inch by inch. But if we don't see the bigger picture, that there's some evil asshole holding us back and none of our punches are landing, and that, we're just going to grow until the arm gets longer. Well, I see a lot of people, because of that illusion, who end up very discouraged. And Marcus, you've heard Chad. I know you guys have heard me talk about this in tour speeches, that, now I can say 15 years. How long have I been a full-time activist now? Shit.
A long time.
It's been a while.
14. I consider it was the 4th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, when we did Operation First Casualty, the mock combat patrol in DC, and so March 19, 2007 was the birth of my full-time activism.
14 years.
But yeah, 14 plus years now, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. And I maybe the answer, maybe part of the answer at least, is that we have to combat that. We have to combat the hopelessness. And there are a lot, like I hate to, well, I've got someone in mind. I'm not going to name him, but he's a former Libertarian Party state chair who is stepping back to live on a boat. And it's like, that's great in terms of, yes, your lifestyle choice, but no, you're disengaging. You're not on the front lines anymore.
Right.
You're not actively waking up every day. How can I make the world a better place? You know, and you have to take care of yourself and do that. But I feel like there are a lot of people who burn out, you know, and I know Marcus, just working with me as long as you have and being as networked as you are, fuck, I started my campaign so damn early. It outlived a lot of people's careers as activists.
I'm from the photo in, other than Adam, from the photo in Arizona, right after he got out, I'm the only one left.
Who's still, who's still active in the movement, like in a serious way. And even around me, and I wonder, like, is there sabotage in this? Like, how easy is it to reach into someone's life and fuck with their logistics or set them up with a charge, you know, get them on paper. So I'm on probation. I can't really do activism because I'm scared of this and that. I'll just wait it out. Yeah. There's a lot of shit like that. And maybe that's it. Maybe activist retention, you know, is the key, so that our arm gets longer and eventually we start connecting. But I don't think that's it either. So Marcus, like, you're not that's sort of, you know, background. Yes, we should work on retention and building community and networking and supporting each other and developing a positive culture within the freedom movement. But that's still not the answer, because they might be able to chip away at us faster than we can grow if we take that strategy.
Right. I think my answer would be, what we do is multifold. The first thing we need to do is don't just have a knife. Don't just have one tool, have multiple tools. One of the things I talk about a lot is making the government irrelevant. Do everything you can in your life to you know, not be in that system. And if we get more people doing that from whatever angle they come from, making it more and more irrelevant, you know, kind of the agorist kind of approach, but doing it at a level that the average person can kind of get into the beginning of.
Oh, okay. So in this analogy, then, all the different strategies and tactics that you described are different punches that we're throwing, and all these punches right now are falling short. Right. None of them are getting major traction. None of them are really landing blows to the state. The state keeps growing. Right. The Libertarian Party is more or less flat historically. So in order for us to actually use that strategy, then we still have to knock the hand off our forehead and then come around from all sides with all of that. Like, so what is that? What is it that allows us to use that strategy? Because right now we are doing that. You say we're doing that. We're already doing that. I'm seeing a bigger problem. Like, it's all these different strategies in my analogy could be, well, we throw a left hook, then a right hook, then a jab, you know, and then it's like, well, they all fall short. Yeah. We have to stop and consider all of them and do something to, you know, break that arm.
Well, one of the things that I think is important in that, because you're right, that if we consider all of the different little, you know, ideas at getting to liberty, or just different punches or what have you, we have to kind of go back to what either Buddha or to Osho, to Rajneesh, who said that there is something about freedom that is innately spiritual. And he said that there's something about and I'm messing up the quote, but this is close. There's something about the human spirit that cannot be chained or tied down or thrown in a cage. We have to get to people's spirits, because the government doesn't know how to do that. They have no idea how to fight a spiritual front. Now, I'm not talking about a particular religion or a particular manner of doing that, but understanding that we have to get to the hearts, and maybe these are the wrong words because the state uses it all the time, but we have
the heart, one in the mind.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, exactly. We have to get to hearts and minds. We have to get to people and to spirits. We have to get to the part of public, the part of the people that are out there that are not going to fight with us. They are not going to fight. They are not going to do anything. And once we get it to where they look at Adam Kokesh and say, you know what, he's a little nutty, that guy's a little crazy, but seems like a nice guy, and you know, he doesn't seem to be bugging nobody. When you get normal people defending you, when you get normal people who understand that we're not nutbags and that we're good people, then I think we can get around some of that holding us back, because we remove a lot of because we have to remove that hand. And that hand is the propaganda that the government is good at using. They're good at, and they have been using that propaganda since time immemorial. We have to be able to be better, and it's possible because they're terrible at everything. We have to be better at messaging. We have to be better at not succumbing to the, you know, one of the things Mises said is that we will never defeat authoritarianism by adopting authoritarian methods. That's never going to work. And part of that is that the government comes out and they lie and they tell the you know, half-truths, and they do all of those kinds of things. So what we have to do is we have to be friendly. We have to be peace. It's why we put right on the top of our banner, anarchy is peace, because we have to be.
Marcus, this is why I love you, but it's not what I want to talk about today.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. So my opinion is to get through that stuff.
No, because this is all beautiful. This is all like essential to why we're doing what we're doing, but it's not getting the arm out of the way. And the arm, you know, I think the arm is all the sabotage that is being conducted against our movement. It's all the infiltration, all the I guess murder of John McAfee would be considered, you know, a little more than just infiltration, kind of sabotage. And who knows what other, you know, behind the scenes fuckery and violence and you know, actual, you know, not just political, but really evil, violent shit they've done to people to suppress this movement. I mean, what we're doing, like, let's be honest, what we're doing now, if you got caught, would get your head chopped off if it was medieval times.
For sure.
You're gonna question the king like we do? Like we are grateful to live in an era where we can have this conversation, at least with that relative. I mean, go team people. This is where the fight is. It's in words more than anything now. You know, not fists and bullets, and that's an incredible thing. So if that's what's holding us back, if it's that sabotage, is there some way of addressing that? Because I've had this fantasy myself that, like, at some point, you know, I'm going to be able to recruit an FBI whistleblower, and he's going to reveal all the plants and feds, and we're going to untangle all the bullshit, and then our movement will be forever inoculated against that kind of subterfuge. But is that going to do it? Would that do it? I mean, what if we had another what would be the equivalent of breaking into the FBI field office in the 70s and stealing the COINTELPRO paperwork today? You know, would that have the effect that we wanted to, of getting the arm off our forehead? At least it would get them, like, if we were able to get the documents that identify everybody currently in the Libertarian Party who's a Fed or a plant of the Republicans or Democrats or some other subversive saboteur, we can at least, I mean, that would be national news, I would hope. But, you know, are they gonna let people hear that story? Are we gonna be? Does that mean they just turn things up, or they give us new plans?
Well, all right. So I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is the nature of the metaphor, right? Am I the only one who, like, isn't just like, hey, where's homegirl's, like, backup? Like, where's somebody to take the flank and, like, you know, hit this motherfucker from behind, take his knees out?
In the metaphor, she is the freedom movement. That's why I like. So I see, like, all these different punches.
But that's why, like,
we have to go Neo. We have to go like Neo and surround the state and be multiple bodies. That we have to split up. But is that being divided and making us easier to conquer?
I don't think so, because we're not
unified in some way.
What Marcus and I are talking about is we're making connections with people who aren't in the LP, who aren't anarchists. We're making connections with people who are trying to attack the beast from other angles, and I'm not worrying about the fact that, like, they might not believe all the same exact things that we believe, and instead just saying, look, you willing to try to help us get this arm off? Because I think the answer to your question is you dilute that subterfuge with bigger numbers and bigger, stronger, more capable people.
So that's an acceptable
we have a lot of
answer.
good, capable people, we need more of them.
To put that into the analogy, Chad, that's great. That's an acceptable answer to my challenge, at least.
Okay.
It just has to be substantiated now, right? Maybe so. The answer is, we need to grow. We need to grow fast enough. We need to figure out a way to adjust what we're doing, to adjust the formula, to make sure that we grow faster than they can shrink us, then they can suppress us, then they can hold us back. And so
it's Gulliver. We need more Lilliputians. It's.
Well, no, but maybe what you're saying is what's missing is an element of synergy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Yeah. But then how do we make that happen? Because keep plugging away network. I mean, maybe I'm fucking impatient at this point. I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm ready to burn out and retire to Gardenia and play with my home babies all day.
But is that impatience part of the problem that we're facing? Is that we want the stuff to be too fast, and we don't have that same. I mean, the people who have designed the fuckery that we are fighting right now, this shit is like a 100, 200 year plan that we are seeing the next outgrowth of. Like, you go back and read Behold a Pale Horse, and you look at some of the stuff that, like, this shit is not like some stuff that they just came up with in 2004. Like, there's a lot. I'm
gonna make an argument against patience here.
I'm not saying patience. I'm just saying that, like, it's more about, like, my argument is against impatience. I think that, like, we have to keep being consistent, and we have to continue to hammer away.
Patience. I'm going to make the argument for impatience.
Go make the argument for impatience.
And I'm going to start by playing that dumb veterans card where, how many veterans does it take to screw in a light bulb? You wouldn't know. You weren't there, man. No, but that. This is going back to 2004. I was in Fallujah, and it's like I saw people die because of the evil of the state. And I don't want to say that, like, veterans are the only ones who know the suffering of the state. Plenty of people have been shot by police, have family members shot by police, have had their businesses or their lives ruined one way or another by government. And there's no reason that coercive government cannot end tomorrow. There's no reason. I know it's abstract, but there's no reason that tomorrow every government agent of coercion has to get up and go to work and do what they were doing and just keep being the evil tip of the spear of the state.
For sure.
They don't have to. So why? No, but like I in a way, like I am willing to work. I've been here for 14 fucking years. I put in the time, and I'm not going to stop because we don't have a better answer. But I want a better answer.
Yeah.
There's no we've been doing. There's no way. We've been in this fight for 14 years. It's time for the Hail Mary or the end run or some other strategic adjustment to say, no, we're going to end this stalemate. The people are going to win. The government is going to lose. It's about fucking time. Like, no, I don't want to be patient. If there's an answer, it's Chad in what you're suggesting of, hey, and Marcus, like, hey, let's network and let's have synergy behind every, with every major movement that's working to fight the state and grow and, okay. But there's got to be a way that we can make this happen sooner. And I'm not willing to give up that possibility because it means that someone might not have to die tomorrow.
Sure. Absolutely. And the thing is, Adam, I don't think that either Chad or I would say that we don't want that too. And I would say I have really two things to add to that, because I'm actually going to pitch this over to Nico for a second. So be ready, Nico. But one of the things that I think we need to do is stop thinking that we know everything. We do not. We don't know. We do not know. And the biggest problem that we are facing in the world is the state. That's the biggest problem. And we need to stop fucking hammering the Antifa people. Sure, if they're agents and they're doing dumb shit, that's one thing. But if they are actively going after the state, I disagree with a shit ton of stuff that they not only do but say I need to back the fuck up and let them do what they're going to do. Because at the end of the day, if they are challenging the biggest murderers and thieves this world has ever known, then they are my ally. And I don't give a fuck if they are a communist. I do not care. If they take down the state, if that is what comes of them taking down their actions is them taking down the state, we'll deal with economics after that, because we don't know what it's like. And being that we're not the ones that we don't know what it's going to look like after it's all done, being that none of us really know.
Okay, so
start listening.
So I have an idea for how that concept that I was listening to, that could become the actual moment of synergy for us that actually employs this strategy. And I know this is like a silly, off the top of the head idea, but when I hear you say all that, I want to write out the 10 commandments of activism. That says, like, it has a preamble. It says that, 10 commandments of activism. An activist is someone who is willing to work to make the world a better place at their expense, to make the world better for other people, and to sacrifice and to work and to put effort in their life towards serving others by making the world a better place. And if you are an activist, these are your 10 commandments, like a code of conduct. I don't know if this would work. I don't know if this, but this is the fantasy that comes to mind as to like a tactic that would employ that and possibly lead it to be if we could create a concept or an awareness of the activism movement, and there was a clear code of conduct that would also protect us against a lot of infiltration and sabotage. Right. Because it would be like if one of the codes of conduct, and I'll say I violated the code of conduct several times, significantly, in my 14 years of activism. I'm guilty. And it's not like we're trying to set up a tribunal or anything, but maybe a standard of conduct by which I would judge myself as an activist, and we could judge each other. That would say, if you're an activist, like, let's write this down, like in a way that is that bottom unity, or as Marcus is, you said it's BLM or Antifa or even the Trumpkins who are going to this is why you're raiding the Capitol. Okay, like of all the things government has done in the past, I don't know about that, but they're activists, right? We can recognize that they're activists, and maybe the answer is activists don't fight activists. Activists fight the powers that be. We can't say the state, because now that's identifying the state as the enemy, and that's the libertarian thing. Yeah. And even then, I don't see the state as the enemy. The state is a manifestation of the people. I don't know. Is that possible, Marcus? I just voluntold you. Okay, you're going to go write the 10 commandments of activism.
Well, I think that is a really good idea. And if nothing else, it gives us something to kind of unify us around a central idea, whatever that is. And it needs to be broad, and it needs to be, what have you. But I also think we need to keep our minds open and because I came to the philosophy I have from having an open mind. And the more that we encourage people to follow the logic or follow the emotion even. Does it feel right to steal from people? No, it doesn't feel right to steal from people. I don't care who you are. It doesn't feel right. So people know what is a basic ethical framework. Whether they call it ethics or not doesn't matter. But what I wanted to kind of pivot to I hope that kind of finishes up what you were talking about. But what I wanted to pivot to Nico about is all three of us have been at one level or another. And I will grant you, if anybody ever, and I said this in the notes, wants to question Adam, you personally, I'm sure you have issues just like the rest of us. That's one thing. But not a motherfucker can, for a moment, question that you are doing every fucking thing in your power and have for years to set people free. And I will challenge anyone to name somebody who has more dedication and more just cojones for trying to do that. But we've all been doing this shit for a long time. And when I met Nico a little over a year ago, he was a hotep who kind of got what the basic idea of voluntarism is.
He came here more for the spirituality stuff than for that. Yeah.
And
I
now
was mad ignorant on it.
Right. Now he has legitimate ideas. He has legitimate gems that he drops every week. He's got ideas of his own, and they are freedom-based ideas. So, Nico, what did Chad and I do, or Adam, or any of our guests, to bring you to these greater understandings? What did we do?
You guys simplified things. When you simplify things in different formats, it's digestible for different crowds and different groups. On top of that, you guys add your own little razzmatazz, so therefore you guys add a uniqueness. Every individual is unique, but how many times are you going to see a white motherfucker performing voodoo? Not that many. How many times are you going to see a guy helping out a black nation for a better cause, like then be the right-hand man of somebody who's trying to build something better? How many people do you know got their own little pocket and nugget of own land and they can get like live freely? Like that's very, in America, that's very slim. Like I don't know any other people other than the people in this podcast, this conversation. And not only that, you guys keep providing a whole bunch of immaculate guests. Like we've had somebody who's helped with homelessness, and he's continuing to still do that. We have somebody who's fighting for the right of marijuana. We have somebody who is running for Congress. Like there's so many plugs that you guys continuously bring to the show to continuously enlarge my idea of what simplicity is. And simplicity is life, but when you have all these other things to it that add what's the word, bullshit to your gutters, you nothing's straight. Everything is mixed in and jumbled, and you have so many things to try and decipher from. But from you guys, it's a specific and direct kind of correlation to it. You guys most definitely, how do I put this? You guys most definitely shoot for a mark and aim to hit it. And when you most definitely put it in your perspective, coming from a young black kid, you guys put me on so much game. I feel like the fact that I can most definitely say that I knew somebody who legit talked to John McAfee is a fucking blessing. Like, not that many people can sit down and say, oh, well, I talked to presidential candidates. Like I said, you guys make the difficult things so simplistic, and with the simplicity comes greatness.
The beautiful complexity of simplicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I appreciate you. I mean, if I may, you're when you say simplicity, do you mean like keeping things connected to first principles, keeping things connected to self-ownership and non-aggression principles?
I understand that the topics we talk about is not simple at all, but the simplicity of keeping it natural and real. Nothing extra, nothing more, nothing less. The simplicity of being real and authentic. You know, not that many people, everybody wants to be complex in the world. Everybody wants to be that razzle-dazzle that you guys have. You guys are like, look, this is how it is. This is my human perspective from it. I hope you see it from it, and I'll attempt to see your point of view. Thank you for sharing and discussing what your point of view is. This is my 2 cents, opposed to no, because the masses, they're all very singular, but it's a complex mass of what the fuck.
A lot of yelling and screaming and fighting.
Yeah.
No, hold on. I want to just make sure I'm on the same page and maybe underscore this point. Is that the mainstream narrative, the government narrative, is always it's complex with justifications, right? And explanations and rationalizations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that complexity really messes with the brain. Like, what did we say when we're in the group economics conversation? Your brain can really withstand, I think, like 350 people or 250 people, that's the basic number of a community. You feel me? Right. Like your brain is able to hold that amount so that you are able to establish your understanding and your connection with the community. Now, when you have something as your phone and it allows you to access more than just your community, then that adds so much more to it. That adds so much more to digest and shift through. When you get to something such as this, it's only a singular lane. Like, there's not that many people talking about this kind of stuff, to be honest with you. Everybody's got their own points, but who brings it to you guys like us?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. We're a very simplistic group that gets all around basis of the complexities of life with 2 eyes open and 2 ears.
Mm-hmm. If I can add to what Nico just said, because I wanted to say this. I want to give Marcus his flowers real quick. I have when you do a show with somebody like Marcus for over a year, and the show open is a bunch of snakes, and they see like the logo and they see like the voodoo stuff and all that stuff, and some of our stuff, and he's got his like Alexander Crowley quotes and shit that he puts up and all this other kind of stuff. I have had to deal with quite a few people who are like, "What the fuck is this, Chad? What y'all talking about?" It's just all kind of weird bullshit like that, which I have to admit, find me 10, 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have said the same thing. What I have always come back to is, come listen to Marcus talk. Come see who Marcus is. Learn about who Marcus is as a person. And you will learn that Marcus, doesn't matter what the situation is, Marcus will give you from where he needs if you need the help, if you really need the help. Marcus does not want to hurt anybody. Marcus just loves. Marcus wants peace, love, and freedom. And back to this whole conversation about like finding connections with people where you may disagree on some things is at a fundamental level. Like, there's some things that Marcus and I would be very much at odds with each other if we didn't approach our relationship the way that we do, where he lets me be me, I let him be him, and we just focus on the things that we know we need to work to get. We know that our kids are going to have hell and our grandkids are going to have it even worse if we don't do what we can to put the other shit aside and just focus on what we need to do to secure more liberty for our future generations. And that's, I guess, what I'm getting at is that if we can focus our energy on that and finding those connections and making it to where every step along the way, we can help put more people on their feet to be free and to stand on their own and to not need any of this other stuff and to not be suckered into some of the stuff Nico said, like earlier on. We signed up for a lot of this shit. Like and Adam, you said, like, isn't this kind of like what it's a reflection of the people? Like in so many ways, de Tocqueville or whoever, there are multiple people who've said this, that we kind of get the government that we deserve by our complacency, by our stupidity, by our just lack of motivation, or in some ways, the evil that we do to each other. People do mean, evil, bad shit to each other. And so then people's natural reaction is, Daddy, help me. And so Daddy government is more than willing to pretend to help and fuck people over even worse. So we have to try to do as much as we can to connect with people who share a vision for a world that's more peaceful, more free, and more loving, and embody that by being more peaceful, more free, and more loving, so that we can wake more people up to that vision and then build it together. That's all.
So, Adam, you want to take that, or I can add?
I don't know. I'm going back to this idea of the activism, the 10 Commandments of activism.
I like it.
Because I hear all of these ideas, and it seems like a lot of us have had, have tried to preach these principles to each other in vague ways, and never really codified them into like a set of practice. Like if you did this well, I'll pin it up on my wall in the studio, at the Freedom Factory in Gardenia, as a reminder to myself. But I think it's a reminder to everybody that there could be an activist code of conduct or a 10 commandments of activism that creates a broader culture. Like when Chad puts it in those terms, it's kind of very big and abstract. Like, hey, work together, be more loving. Come on, guys, everybody just get along. And it's like, no, we need to get down a little more specific than that.
Well, for what it's worth, I wasn't trying to codify anything just yet. I was just, trying to
still have 25 minutes,
Yeah, I got you.
Well, by the end of this, we'll have it all written out.
Okay, all right. Everybody in the chat, write these down as we go, so we don't have to type.
Yeah, right. So the challenge is, this is, huh?
I'm telling them to earn their keep.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Stop drifting.
Maybe I'm gonna do this. Maybe, but Marcus and Chad and Nico, with your awareness, but at least these two I have more experience with. You would be, mainly around the old end the Fed groups that we got still going on Telegram. I'd be circulating it around there and trying to really hone the language. And I guess it's hard because I want to. Okay, so here's the first example. Like, you should not attack other activists. Well, what if they're actually activists for the state? What if we know they're saboteurs? What if they're doing this? What if they're doing that? What if it's this thing? Like, what if I think they're worse than the state? It becomes very difficult to then put that into practice and say, well, where do you draw the line? Because you shouldn't. Because Marcus, you made the point very well that we shouldn't be attacking other people who are also attacking the state, even if we disagree with them. They're attacking from a different angle. That's fine. Or you want to say it's on the train. They're all on the same train, pulling in the same direction. Just because we shouldn't argue about which stops we're getting off at, But how do you put that into actual sort of codified guidelines that could create an activist movement? I know it's a sort of a weird umbrella term. But movement of activism in the United States or globally even that has that potential for synergy.
I think that some of it could. Okay, first of all, I need to go with a direct. I'm a weirdo. Lots of people here know this. I had a direct. Right. I had a direct communication from a spirit that I work with. His name is Ogun. He's the god of war, and that particular entity told me that the number one thing that as an activist I need to be focused on is anti-war. That if there is nothing else that we can bring together, it should be peace. That the thing that we need to be absolutely 100% solid on, you can have whatever other opinions you want, but that we should come together for peace. That we should come together against hurting other people who aren't doing anything wrong. And I think that beyond, whether we wind up with 3 different rules, 10 different rules, whatever the codified thing is, I think the point needs to be peace, because that's what we want. I don't want no government because I have this, it's been said before, or I've said before, I'd be willing to meet somebody at the Constitution. I'd be all right with that. It comes back to what Locke said. The only thing that brings people into seditious commotion is oppression. And when we start to come together, we should be coming together around the ideas of peace and stopping people hurting one another. It needs to be about nonviolence.
Marcus, I'm absolutely with you in spirit. You know that. Mm-hmm. But I don't see the tactical value here. I'm going to make the argument against peace activism or anti-war activism because it's not a war the way that we think of it anymore. The actual force-on-force war, I think that's and this is a weird thing for me to argue because I made my name for myself as a public figure with Rock Veterans Against the War as an anti-war veteran.
Right.
And I think it is absolutely critical and foundational. I'm 100% with you on the principles of peace being front and center. And if anything, taking out the confrontational nature of our activism, even making it more about loving people out of bad behavior than confronting them over it. But when you say anti-war activism, I don't think the word war, in terms of like what we actually think of as a war is, force on force, men in large groups, trying to kill each other. I don't think that's really a thing. Like, I want to say, like, go team people. We've gotten to the point in human history. And again, I always cite Steven Pinker in this. And by the way, I am speaking at an anti-war rally on September 11th for the 20th anniversary to support the Mises Caucus in Sacramento. And I'm happy to do it. I'm excited that there are people organizing for this. And Panvidya Magnus, I think he's got the account is @EndTheDamnWars on Twitter. Look that up. There's a great rally for the 20th anniversary of 9/11 in Washington, D.C. But are we
another one of our guests, by the way?
Yeah, look at the decline in violence over human history. This is Steven Pinker, the TED Talk, the surprising decline in violence. And so while I say yes to peace, yes to love, yes to harmony as our front and center goals, objectives, as a mindset, anti-war activism is not only not effective, but it's anti what we're for. And people say, oh, yeah, like, well, what do people say? Oh, you're doing an anti-war protest. Where are we at war? Well, there's all these little things going around here. Well, that doesn't matter to me. And we as libertarians would say, well, we can see all the wars. We can, because we read the news and we see what's happening in Yemen and what's happening in Haiti and what's happening in Cuba and blah, 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 like where they're, or with the Uyghurs in China, all the great places where there's actual physical oppression and conflict and things like that. And we look at the military industrial complex in the trillions of dollars siphoned away from productive uses that are just stolen in the name of the murder cult, as Shane Hazel would call it. So I don't think that's the case. You have to take the anti-war out,
sure,
to make that effective. You can say peace and love and harmony front and center, but being anti-war, I don't think that's effective right now.
I actually agree with you. By war, I'm talking about things like it really is violence, violating human rights. Maybe I don't know the right wording because I'm trying to come up with it right now.
Coercion.
Yeah, coercion is a good one. And,
when I want to be slightly less anarchist, and I say I want to end coercive government. Yeah, you put in that qualifier and then we're all good, right?
Right. Well, because then it stops being what we're against. Mm-hmm. Because what we're against is violence, coercion, and those kinds of, and force. We're for the things that, like Chad talked about, peace, love, and freedom. And I think really we have a freedom movement. What we need to be as a freedom movement is a more inclusive freedom movement so that people can learn. Freedom may be the word we need to use to unite. Yeah. Because communists, as much as I disagree with them, and it will sound like to people that have not watched this before that I'm a big pro-communist, but I'm not. But many communists, even Che Guevara, thought that he was fighting for freedom.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. They are activists.
That's a big distinction. Yeah.
So
it's a tough challenge. I don't think that's something I'm equipped to do while we're talking about it on the air. I'd have to like sit down and like scribble and like scratch shit out and like go back over it again and everything. But I think, I don't know, when you were saying it earlier, I was like, well, for one thing, it could be like, thou shalt not like throw the bricks and burn shit down in like at the like the nail salon or the hair place or whatever down the corner from your street, that like the little mom and pop owns, and don't lay down in front of the Federal Reserve building to, like I think you maybe had those backwards. Maybe you should be attacking the Federal Reserve building and not doing anything to your local communities, little mom and pop businesses. But anyway, I don't think, burning shit down is necessarily all that effective anyway. But if you're going to do that kind of shit, burning your mom and pop local businesses to the ground, and then going. I don't know if y'all saw that, but there was a video. I had to go back and find it, where one of these marches last year during the summer, they just went and laid down in front of the Federal Reserve building, and I was like, really? Like, y'all just like, okay, that's an interesting place to prone
to
yourself.
Stretch out.
It's like, all right.
Well, hold on. I want to go back to this idea, because I think what we've come to on this, aside from maybe we expose all the shit of government and prevent them from, the sabotage and infiltration, creating a more positive, inclusive, cooperative movement culture seems to be like where a lot of this is headed. So I want to go back to this document idea, the 10 Commandments of activism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
call it commandments. Thou shalt not, because God of activism said so. It's not really
the 10
principles, vibe we're going for.
10
is it?
Guiding principles of activism.
Not the 10 golden values of activism. Like,
we'll figure it out.
Does it got to be 10 though? Does it got to be 10? Like, are we gonna go like subsection? Let's add another 35 of these under here.
No. I think as libertarians, we definitely enjoy talking about writing shit down a lot more than we do actually enjoy writing shit down for some reason.
That's for sure.
It's easier to talk.
Someone write that down for me, by the way. Someone in the comments.
Right.
Yeah, right. Adam Kokesh said libertarians like to talk about writing things down more than they like to write things down.
For sure.
Oh shit.
Well, and the thing is, these ideas are not going to get figured out today. I still,
tomorrow.
Yeah, the day after tomorrow.
Adam already said he's impatient as shit, so we got to feed that.
But at the end of the day, I started my involvement with Adam's campaign really with the first thing that was ever published on his Steemit page by me was published by Cody, and he published a thing that I was just talking about on Facebook on Adam's Steemit, and it was just my thoughts as I would, I was working for Adam for maybe 2 months. It was before we had, declared that we were running for president and all of that. It was like in maybe November. Anyway, what I said was that I hope to be as good as Thomas Paine, because I saw what I was doing for Adam as being very similar to what Thomas Paine was all about. And everybody knows, and right now I'm reading a book by this. If anybody can see that.
Look, Nico, Marcus can find his books. No,
so anyhow,
oh, nice. Okay, The Promise of America.
It's actually written from a leftist point of view, and so I like it.
I love it. There he goes. You got to flex. I get it. All right. Point taken.
So I want to be more like Thomas Paine, and what I mean by that is that Thomas Paine did what Adam said. He wrote some shit down. Mm-hmm. And he wrote stuff down in such a way, and because you really get the balls of it, if you will, by comparing Thomas Paine with Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
And with Jefferson has this high English where he's talking about shit, and you're like, okay, let me look up what this word means.
Right. Like 75 commas in one sentence, and it's 4 paragraphs long.
Right. Whereas Thomas Paine wrote a very short book and a very poignant book. Now, I would argue that Adam's book fits that bill. I was
going to say it reminds me a lot of Freedom, a lot of like really, really nice one-liner type thing. You can just pull out one sentence from Freedom and like just drop it on somebody, and it's a gem.
Right. Yeah. But we need, as activists, I think, to keep it simple. To not be the Thomas Jefferson. So often I see libertarians that come out and go, you should be a libertarian because here's 50 books. Instead of I'm a libertarian because it's not fucking right to hurt people. Mm-hmm. It is not right to steal from people. It is not right to do these things. And that list that Adam's talking about needs to be kept simple, not just because it would help us unite, but because it makes us palatable. It makes us easier for people to understand, easier for people to go, you know what? That, you know, when they say, because people said, oh, you're calling yourself an anarchist. I actually do prefer the term anarch, and I actually prefer voluntarist before I do anarchist, but I will accept the title anarchist. And when somebody gets mad and says, you're using the word anarchist and blah, 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 I say, yes, I am, and I'm doing it on purpose. But all these people are evil and bad, want to burn things down and do all that. You're right, they do. And when they say, when people are opposing government, they'll point at them every time and say, that's what it means to oppose government. Now, when someone says to somebody in the Hotep Nation, just because we've made a major impact there, somebody says, all anarchists want to blow shit up and take things down. They say, no, they don't. Marcus and Chad and Nico
come
don't.
back to us.
Right. No, that's not true. That these people don't. And so once we get to those ideas and once we get those principles put in, you know, maybe Adam's really the Thomas Paine because he's got the book. Maybe our job is to disseminate those ideas in whatever fashion that it is and move it out. We are still waiting for Washington. Washington could not, and this is a paraphrase by Adams, who said that Washington's sword would have been ineffectual without Thomas Paine's pen. And we may need a Washington to come one of these days, and he may do what we want him to do. And I don't see him today. And maybe one of us become that guy. I don't know. But we need to still be putting those ideas out into the world, you know, and I like the idea of writing the 10 things down. And it may wind up being 7, it may wind up being 15, but I do think that it needs to be a limited amount. But we do need to put this shit in simple form, not a book, not something very easy, so that when somebody says, I'm sorry, I'm reading down.
I brought it back up because it's like an hour ago he said that, but it fits what you're saying right now. All is mind, change the mind is the way, and and to keep fighting, because that's like, I think to your point and what it's. We've got to. We need more people. We need more people who get it, and we need to wake more people up, because right now we don't have the critical mass yet, and it takes all of those.
I don't
think we do.
Yes, I think we have enough people.
I don't think everybody makes it known. You know, the revolution will not be televised. You feel me? So it's like, yeah. Because I actually posted on one of my social media saying, like, fuck, are we about to go through like what is known as like the dumbest period in time, or is that just me? And
there have been some really dumb periods, man. Like, this is like, as dumb as COVID is, you know, don't forget like the Crusades and Salem witch trials and slavery. You remember slavery, right? You've heard of that. There have been some really dumb things in America. Genghis Khan, you know, there have been some dumb things in human history for sure.
So
but COVID is uniquely dumb.
Yeah, no. So it's like, where do we take this from here? Do we just say, all right, well, the majority that we see or that is projected, we're just fucked because nobody sees it? Or are there more people like us out there that are just on the down low and they're just hyperinflating numbers and just statistics, making us fear more than what we actually need to? You feel me?
You know, it comes down, Adam, to the experience we had at Lothlorien. And yes, Lothlorien got all kinds of COVIDed out.
You mean the thing with the mushrooms?
Right. And but whether or not, that was a group of people that welcomed us with open arms into their group. And why did they do that? Because we're nice. Because these people believe in peace, love, and freedom. And so we need to stop overthinking this shit. And to get to what I was talking about a moment ago too, Chad, you know, I disagree. I think, you know, I feel bad for Emma Goldman. I feel bad for Lysander Spooner. These people had nobody
by
around
themselves.
them.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people. And if what we don't have is a lot of people willing to do even what I do. just enough to go out and say, you know what, this is what freedom means to me. I'm going to give you some food today. Here, take from this food bank. By the way, freedom's a good thing, isn't it? That food bank that is here in LaBelle that I worked at, you know what? They had 6 copies of freedom. They're gone. Everyone was taken. So, you know, these ideas are absolutely possible, and they're also popular. And it is the propaganda that drags us down.
Well, so I guess what I'm getting at with that is that I think I feel a certain sense of like what Adam was talking about before, the hand on the forehead, whether it's, you know, subterfuge or you know, sabotage, whatever, or anything like that, or just in some cases, just the fact that we haven't hit what I think would be enough of a threat that makes it to where some of this stuff is harder to pull off. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, this is a personal example I learned about today. My little brother, he's been like, he lives in Mexico, and he's been down there. He's been like giving freedom to people. He's been sharing the audiobook or the PDF. I gave him some hard copies. He's been sharing those. He's totally on board. And is like doing his part to try to spread those ideas where he is locally, and even like when he travels. But the work that he does, he travels to like 15 different countries, and they're on their way in. They were just coming into Louisiana today, and you know, I found out today that he and his wife, you know, they got the stabbies, and it was something that he had to go through a lot of like real hard discernment and like really like grappling with it, because it was kind of like do I go live in a van down by the river, and do I get to go see my family and all these other sorts of things? Do I get to keep doing the work that I'm doing? Because what he does is not just, he's actually going around and teaching people stuff that's about like a more sort of like what we were talking about before with the like gender roles and that kind of stuff, and kind of restoring more of a family type of oriented setup and everything. So it's not just about like, well, stop doing, you know, it's not like he's working at McDonald's or something and it's just like, well, stop doing that and then, you know, go, you know, grow your own food and everything. Like, he's trying to help change the world, and at the same time he's faced with, well, I have to stop doing that or drastically cut back on it, and from an income impact standpoint and all this other stuff. So here's somebody who, all other things being equal, would be very much like against doing that, and was kind of given an ultimatum that he needed to do it. And like, and I was I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit upset because they were coming in, and I was like, why did you have to do it now? When, you know, because there's all this stuff with like people being around, that sort of thing right after it happens, not necessarily the best thing in the world. And we're going to try to have to interact and everything, and try to be careful about that. But it's just, and it's one of those things where like that really hit home for me, because it's in a lot of ways, it's not just so simple as we have a lot of people who agree with us. There's a whole lot of people who are willing to put you between a rock and a hard place and make you have to make that decision, that I can say right now, like, there's no way in hell that's happening. But, you know, and my wife, you know, same thing. There's no way we're getting that shit put in us. Then you get to like the real nitty gritty of it, and it's like, all right, so I guess we're selling the house and we're, you know, moving somewhere else. We might be living out of a car. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it gets real quick, you know? And I think a lot of times people, and I'm not questioning anybody on this show's resolve or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, when you're really, really, really faced with another thing, this is so crazy. Same little brother today, they went to stop to go to Raising Cane's because they haven't had it in forever, and it's just like one of those little treats that they like to have when they're in the States, in Louisiana. They went over there. My brother like merged in one of those lanes where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. He merged in between 2 cars. The car behind him got real pissed off. At the next red light, the guy got out of the car, starts screaming at my brother. My brother rolls down the window to apologize. Guy punches my brother in the face. Wow. And my wife was like, "Why didn't he get out and do something?" I'm like, he's got his wife and his 2 little baby girls in the car with him. Like, I know it sounds cool to be like, I'm going to fight back, but like, let's be real. Like, I was like, would you want me to do that? And like, say I go chase after him to say, hey, that was bullshit. You shouldn't have fucking hit me. And then he turns around, he's got a knife or a gun or something like that. Like some shit ain't worth it. And it's better to fight another day, And so some of those things, like, until you're really, really faced with that binary, that really, and I mean, Adam, you've dealt with this you got kicked off of or on the banned list for those airlines or whatever. That's some real consequences. It's not maybe to the extreme that my brother was dealing with, but it's on that same, pathway. And so I guess my point is, we do still need a larger. I don't think we've gotten to critical mass. If we had gotten to critical mass, we wouldn't be in this shit that we're in right now.
Hold on. I have to end with this great note of hope that you actually just missed in what you said about the vaccine and the numbers. They have been bombarding us with bullshit, pushing these vaccines for months. You know how many Americans are vaccinated? Less than 50%.
Yeah.
And I would wager it's significantly less than that. And a lot of those are extra counted from individuals who said, "Oh, well, I'm so crazy. I want the Pfizer and the Moderna shot. Give me both."
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how many people. If that's 10%, then it's only 40% who are vaccinated. That's the minority.
Okay.
And a lot of the people who have been vaccinated have had adverse effects, did their homework afterwards, and have come to regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is this a great sign of how many Americans are willing to say, I'll not get the jab. I will stand against what government wants me to do right now. That's fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that this provides a unique moment in history for us to see that and point that out. Because for a lot of the sheeple, as we derogatorily, inappropriately refer to them sometimes, they just think they're alone. And they just need to see that they're not alone. And for all the 50% of Americans who are going like, you know what, I just don't buy this bullshit. I'm not going to get the jab. And guess what? Unless they're like us and they have the indulgence that we get of spending how many hours a day reading the news and talking about big ideas, they're going to fall for that. And it's going to take them a while to think their way through it and realize the implications. And this is where I think an important note of personal humility is important, because when COVID first came out, I fell for it. I did. I admit
I did a little bit too. Remember? Yeah, I did a little bit too. Yeah,
we were on the tour. I didn't know. I didn't right away say, "Oh, this thing government wants us to be afraid of is total bullshit. Let me peek behind the curtain." I couldn't. It wasn't that easy. It wasn't like, "Oh yeah, here's all this data to review and all these contradictory statements over months." So it was like when it was first coming out.
Right.
And it took me a few weeks. And I think for a lot of us, even, woke folks in the liberty movement, we fell for a little while. And so for the average American, they don't have that indulgence. It's going to take them a little longer, but they're figuring it out. And at least 50% of them have now. At least 50% of Americans have decided, have chosen. It's been available to everybody. It's been free. In fact, it's been better than free. It's been free donuts with your vaccine.
They got a lottery in Louisiana for $1 million.
free money. We'll pay you to take it. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And still, 50%. Nah, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the moment to reach them, that whole 50%, and say, guess what? You're not alone. And there are people who care about you, who want what you want to be manifest in reality, who want a world where you're not bullied and coerced to giving up your self-ownership, where your will is respected.
Mm-hmm.
To go back to that idea of suffering, where your, as Buddha might say, where your suffering is celebrated, but it's where your effort is celebrated, right? You see why I like that language better?
Mm-hmm.
Where your life, your will, your creativity is celebrated. And that's why I'm asking these questions right now, without any agenda, without trying to sell anything, other than, let's come listen to my show. I'm live 5 days a week, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Links down below in the description. We can in our description you can find the link to Adam's show. So
sometimes I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
But I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the audience that you've put together with Aquarian Anarchy as being a very thoughtful group. I didn't come into this conversation going, let me just sell some shit and give platitudes. This has been very enlightening conversation, helpful for me, and I might go write this document. We'll see.
All right.
Thou shalt be an activist, or God will smite you down.
For sure. And I want to again, and I know I've done this millions of times, and I don't care. I'm going to continue to do it. Go check Adam out. Check out Adam versus the Man. Go to thefreedomline.com.
Read Freedom.
Things.
And then read it again. And then read it again.
It will be good for you. I can say intellectually, when it comes to freedom-oriented things, the number one influence on me is in the other corner.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, right. And this man has put together ideas. You may not agree with all of them. That's okay. But he has ideas that will set you free. Go check it out. Definitely subscribe to his channel, subscribe to our channel, do all of that. And he may be like, I'm not pushing something. Buy his shit. I have a shirt myself. Buy his stuff.
I don't think we're even selling merch right now. We're not even organized enough to sell it. You can get my book on Amazon. I think they have stickers there too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't figured out how to get our money out of Amazon. Shocking, right?
You're right. Well, give Adam money. Go to his Patreon. No. Donate. Okay.
Read the book.
Read the book for sure, but give Adam money. You may not want to say that, brother, but I'm telling you right now, I know what it's like. I know that you do the shit out of your heart. I get it. But at the end of the day, it costs money to put gasoline in No Force One.
I don't want your money. I want your heart and soul.
Right.
Please sign below here and check and check.
Oh shit,
but
man!
Thank you, Adam, for everything that you've done for me. No matter what my future holds, because I don't know. I do not know where I'm going. And I don't care to be clear. But no matter what, I will always be thankful for what you have done for me, for my family. You have been an inspiration, not only for me, but for my entire family. And you absolutely are a topic of discussion and your ideas are a topic for discussion across this country. And that is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been fun. Chad, you got anything? Nico, you got anything?
No, just if Adam, if you can hang around a little bit, just for a couple of seconds after. I know Nico's got to go, but just for a couple of seconds, I wanted to ask you about something, and then we will send everybody off. But Marcus, you got to do it. You know how you do it.
All right, stay free, my friends.